Yo,
What up, though?
Top of the morning to you.
back at it.
Did another one, then another one.
You start every time. I'm actually say
They about to start doing it on the camera themselves, bro. Right. The faithful followers, bro. Yeah.
how you feel.
Damn, you got it, bro.
Because we do the hello, the top of the morning, the more.
All right, let's see.
Big shot.
Me.
Yeah, and you got that.
I'll probably about, bro, I ain't gonna lie, I'm like a 6.5, man.
Dang.
Man, dude, it was,
Yeah, what happened?
bro,
Who's we?
it was a gathering, and let's just say the gathering wasn't as well as I thought it would be. It was forced, man. It was forced, and I felt like things can be a lot better than what it turned out tonight. And then, like, I had brought a dish in my car, and so they were everywhere. Bro, I cooked some yams, bro. Oh my gosh, bro. I cooked some yams. I wrapped it up in foil, and I put it in my front seat. And
Wait. On the seat or on the floor?
on the front seat, like
That's
on
the
the
real
seat.
problem.
That's probably why it spilled.
Yeah, it fell
but I had the foil on it anyways. I go to open my car door, the sauce is everywhere, bruh.
You ain't right.
Yeah, it was tops, bro. So that already knocked me down a couple of points, and then after, I was just shot, bro. I was cooking, man. So pray for your boy, man.
Nah,
Yeah.
me, I'm a 10 out of 10, dog. 10 out of 10, can't complain, bro. I'm doing fantastic, bro. Really chill day to day. Good to just recharge, got in a word in a little bit. So, hey, 10 out of 10 day for me, man.
Valid.
Man, I'm hitting with y'all with an improper correction. 11 out of 10, probably. Just saying, me, I got anything hold me back. I'm not stressing. I got some trips happening, so excited for what's to come and these new experiences I can have. So what's that, 11? You said 6.5? You said 10?
You know, holding us down, fellas. I'm sorry, man.
I don't know any math.
Hit me in the comments,
24
boy.
out of 30. 24 out of 30.
And quick math, engineer over here.
I don't think it's
That ain't
30.
23.5 out
No, you know, right? He actually might be.
No.
You said
11,
Yeah.
10 is 20.
Hey, we ain't mad.
Engineers over there. Hey,
26, my bad. 26 out of 30.
he is simple man though. It's okay. It's 20 seconds, but anyways, bro. Because I'm at 11, he at 6.5.
I'm gonna let you live today.
Hey, valid though. But I've got a question because, I feel like each person has their own struggles, right? But a different thing to it is each person's struggles can help out someone else. So I want to speak about our struggles in hopes of helping out a different person, you know what I'm saying, those who are here. So I was curious if there's any struggles that are worth sharing, and then also sharing how you can overcome them, how you personally are handling them or are getting past them.
Whew, struggles, man. Let's see. I think for me, a couple of things right now. I think some things that have been like barriers and obstacles for me. One's pride. Pride is just killing me right now, man. Lust, of course, that's just always been a battle, a tug of war. And I think trusting God and His plan, especially where I am right now, just heading to one more semester left in school, and like there's a lot of uncertainty, a lot of doubts, and then you're thinking about stability in the future. So like all these doubts creep in, and that's been hard for me to just like hold on to and trust God and lean on His understanding and what He has planned for me. Just because I'm a guy who loves to be in control, and so relinquishing that control and trusting in God is something I've had a hard time struggling with. So I would say pride, lust, and trust. Those are the three things right now. And then you said ways that I'm trying to like overcome them.
Yeah.
Pride, man. I just have to check myself every single day, man. I have to acknowledge what reality is, that I am broken, I am weak, and I am in need of a Savior, just like Jesus Christ. And I have to remind myself of where I am and what I don't do or what I don't have in regards or in comparison to like Jesus. So I think about the story of Job, where God says at the end of the book, like, where were you when I laid the foundation of the earth? Where were you when I placed the moon up in the sky? Like, I believe God says that to me all the time. Like, where were you when I brought you through this situation? Where were you when I brought you this situation? Like, you always think that you need to be in control, yet here we are. You're asking me again for help with this situation. So just having reality checked where I am, and then lust, just trying to be in my word. When I feed myself God's truth, those desires decrease. And then as far as trust, I mean, I'm still trying to discover that myself, man.
Yeah, that's real. I think on a similar note, I would say definitely pride for me as well. And I would say lust for sure. And then I also say like isolating myself. So kind of like that self-isolation. So I think for pride, I think just it's easy as a man, and especially like, you know, when you got things going for yourselves, it's easy to be puffed up with pride. It's easy for you to hear feedback from others or have conversations with others and they're just puffing you up. And so you kind of look at yourself as somebody bigger than, you know, other people, you know, so, but you like, you know, every man falls short of the glory of God. So that's something that constantly humbles me, but you know, it's times I forget that, you know what I'm saying? I think, and then hitting on the lust topic for me, which has been huge, is like really watching what I intake spiritually, like whether that's what I'm watching or what I'm listening to or the conversations I'm having. And so as I'm, you know, going through this and I see like the things that I'm intaking like are more Christ-centered stuff, the less I struggle with lust, you know what I'm saying? The more things that I'm watching that's more focused on God, or even just like sports or something like that, just stuff like where we live in a world where everything is so sexually driven, you know what I'm saying, and like sexually suggestive. So I'm just like, you know, when I'm, you know, muting that stuff out or when I'm fleeing from it and not trying to fight it, that's when I found like dubs just in my walk with Christ. And I think hitting on the self-isolation topic, I think for me, it always like, it's like kind of like that defense mechanism, you know, when things don't go my way or when I'm upset, it's kind of like, well, like, let me go isolate myself and, you know, run away from community and, you know, even sometimes run away from God, you know what I'm saying? But even though God is still here with me, you know, and I think that the Bible tells us to bear one another's burdens. I think when I self-isolate myself, I don't give, you know, anybody else the opportunity to bear my burdens as well. So I think, you know, and that's just a detriment. Like, you know, it's some people out here that's just like praying for godly community. And here I have godly community and I'm just misusing it, you know what I'm saying? So, you know, we talk about that stewardship where everybody like, you know, I want this Rolls Royce, but it's like, man, like what you doing with that Toyota that you got? And so I think it's the same way. It's just like, man, you want a bigger community. You want all these Christ-centered friends, you know what I'm saying? But what are you doing with the friends or the one friend that you have right now?
Man, first of all, I was going to say that's some awesome, just personability, and you know, telling your deepest struggles really to people. And so I just want to say that. But for me, I'd say, for you know what, I think we put titles on a bunch of different stuff, right? And so I would put mine as I think all of them, it comes down to how I see people, right? So I have pride. Why? Because I feel like I see me as better than them. Lust. I have lust towards some girl because I see her as an object or something. You know what I'm saying? So a big problem that I'm having is how I'm seeing people. You know, I'm pressing. I've been working on this thing, patience. You know what I'm saying? I'm not a very patient person. I'm getting there though. You know what I'm saying? Step at a time. But I'm gaining patience because I'm starting to change how I see people. So my mom, okay, so I lack patience. I just being vulnerable. I just don't have many patience that I haven't for years. But now I'm starting to have patience because I'm starting to see her for who she actually is. I'm starting to talk to her more, just have good conversations. Like, oh, now I see that she's just like me. She's been broken and hurt too. And so, man, she just, you know, me and her just think two separate ways. And so I'm able to change perspective on how I see her, which then often changes how I treat her. You know what I'm saying? I feel like that is true for all people up in our life, whether it's friends or family. You know, how we see them is going to change. How we see them is going to affect how we treat them. And so I'm trying to change how I see people because, again, the lust comes into it, pride comes into it. And you had a fantastic point on how, what are we intaking? Because I'm the biggest person about it. What we're intaking is what we're outtaking too. So what are you having in is what's coming out. You know what I'm saying? That just, it goes down to simple stuff like food. You know what I'm saying? I'm just being serious with you. But a different thing, hey, I'm a serious guy. Let's go keep going. But anyways, but different thing that I have, I'd say mine is, how would you say it? How I see myself, I guess you would say. You know what I'm saying? Where it's like, I see myself as, is pride an interesting thing? Because most people who have pride have insecurities, right? And so I have all this pride, yet I have all these insecurities too. And I would say maybe that my pride is me trying to cover up my insecurities. Oh. You know what I'm saying? And so I have that too. Maybe just because of my speech impediments. So because I have that, maybe I see other people better. You know what I'm saying? But then I pride because I think I'm a better conversationalist. You know what I'm saying? So how I see me, which is also going to affect how I treat other people too, because how you see you also affects how you treat other people. And so, you know, something that I talk about all the time is your perspective. And so I think a big struggle that I have is perspective. So
I think with all of our struggles, I mean, there's a glaring thing that it seems like pride seems to be the overarching theme of every single one in some way, shape, or form. Like even with trust, it's like I believe that I'm more sovereign than God is, or like isolation. I believe that I know where to place myself at all times, or lust. Like I believe that this moment right here is better than what God has for me in the future. Like, you know, even like patience. Like we believe that, you know, our time is better than other people's time. Like all these things are like rooted in the understanding of pride. And so I think we can focus on that. Like how do we like overcome and battle with this, really this drug of pride? Like it drives us down everywhere that we go, and it cripples us. There's nothing good that comes from pride. And in fact, the Bible says that pride comes before the fall. So, you know, all of us in our struggles, I mean, hey man, the more pride that we have, man, expect to fall a lot often. So, I mean, I guess what can we do to combat pride? If you guys have any solutions for the audience, bro.
Man, I think
I can feel it.
just
Yeah,
hitting
I
on
can hear
the
it.
hitting on the tension. I mean, just the topic of pride, right? I think it's important for us to be in our word, to actually see ourselves truthfully in a true light. I was reading James, and it talks about how the word is like a mirror. Like he says, like whoever reads the word but doesn't do what it says is like a person who looks themselves in the mirror but doesn't, and then leaves and then forgets what they look like. You know what I'm saying? And so I think it's in the same way, we need to understand, like, how does God view us and how should I view myself based on the word? Because the word says I'm fearfully and wonderfully made, you know what I'm saying? To where like we can take, but at the same time, on the flip side of that, we can take that and kind of like, you know, put that above some other people.
So, yeah.
But it's crazy because the Bible is a book for everybody, you know what I'm saying? So it's not just saying that you're fearfully and wonderfully made by yourself. It's talking about everybody else, you know what I'm saying? So I think to combat pride, we need to truly look at what does God say about us. And like you talked about, you hit on a lot talking about like, how do I view myself? You know what I'm saying? It's like, how does the God view you? You feel what I'm saying? So I think we just need to understand like, how does God view you? And I think we fall into that trap of pride because we look at social media and how people put their highlights on social media. People put their peaks on social media. And so we're quick to compare. We talk about comparison all the time and how it's the thief of joy. And so I think we need to like get off the social media, bro, a little bit and get in your word. You feel me?
Yo, he hit on a fantastic point of being on the socials. You know what I'm saying? I just got off the past couple months because I couldn't handle it. I was just doing so much comparison, and it was all coming from a me. And even though I knew that they're showing their best, I'm thinking on my worst, I couldn't handle it. And so the analogy I'm thinking of is like, you know, with drinking, right? Drinking isn't necessarily bad if you can handle it right. But you can't handle it right, you should probably not drink. And so media and socials aren't necessarily bad, but if you're handling it wrong, you should probably leave. And so that's what I had to do. But the comparison's huge. Also, shout out to James chapter 4. I've been in there like nonstop, bro. So yo, James chapter 4.
I was trying to look at the camera, bro. You good?
Started.
I gonna say
It's like Travis Scott.
leave it there, bro. You no context to James 4?
That's all I got, bro. They can have.
They go,
Hey, that's real. That's real.
that is real. Like,
Now they're curious what's in James.
Yeah, I'm curious too.
I ain't gonna tell them. I ain't gonna tell them.
No, that's real, man. I mean, I think where it all boils down, again, like what you mentioned earlier, was like how we view ourselves. And like the advent of social media, I think everybody tries to tell us how we should view ourselves instead of going back to where God tells us how we should view ourselves. And it's hard because I really think like the world and the culture that we live in, they all promote pride, like my truth and my way of living and my identity and all these things that push people into living these prideful lives. And maybe that some people are aware of it and some people aren't aware of it, but it's just because what's popular on social media, what's promoted, what's exalted. People want to be like the celebrities or the idols and things that garner attention. Whatever I can do to get that, I want to try and appear as that. And what's toxic about that is that it removes this lens of what is actually reality, what is actually true. And the truth of the matter is, hey, God's here and we're right here, man. In fact, like I would put us all the way down here if it was actually being like real, like, you know, there's no way where we can try and place ourselves above God, because when we do, well, then our view is our lens is skewed in what we look at in everything, like whether we see relationships, whether we see ourselves, the way that we see others. I mean, everything is skewed because we're looking through a lens of me and how I can serve myself. But Jesus, he gives us the blueprint of how we should actually live our lives, how we should see ourselves. And he tells us in John 13, he says like, man, I did not come here to be served, but to serve, right? And so just that lens right there, like the posture of humility is the way that we should view ourselves. Like I'm nobody, right? And not in an insecure way or like diminishing your own value, but it's just valuing and esteeming above yourself in a healthy way. And being a servant, that's the key to removing pride, because pride is often like, I want people to serve me. I want people to help me. I want people to exalt me. Whereas, humility is choosing others above yourself in every regard. So whether that's, dealing with social media, like people like, look at me, like me. Something I love about you is like, every picture that you post is with other people. In fact, many times you're not even in the picture, man. Like you're trying to show everybody else, and that's just the servant's heart that you have, and the stuff that you do. Like you're promoting everybody else's, good to help, garner them, lift them up, and uplift their brands. I think that's just a beautiful thing, is being able to humble yourselves and not receive all the glory for yourself, but giving back to others. Like that's what we should be called to do. We should be uplifting others. We should be encouraging others and planting seeds that God has given us, man.
Yeah, bro. Shoot, I appreciate you for the compliment. Man,
encourage one another.
Nah, for
one another.
Hey, bro. And that's why I rock with him so much, is because he knows his spiritual gifts, bro. And I think one of his spiritual gifts is just encouragement, bro. And he uses that to the fullest. You know what I'm saying? I think I watched the Ass Cliff. Like I watched the clip of him, bro. And he was talking about, every Christ follower's job on here is to use their spiritual gifts from God to the fullest. You know what I'm saying? I think when I think of that, I thought of you. I'm like, man, this dude uses his encouragement to the fullest. You know what I'm saying? But just hitting back on the topic, bro, of just pride, bro. I think we live in a world where it's like so built on validation from humans, bro. Instead of like, how can I be validated by God? You know what I'm saying? And so I think it's so weird how it's so backwards that we chase validation from the people and from the world, when Jesus tells us in John 16 that we'll have many troubles in this world, but take heart because I have overcome the world. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, why would I want to chase the wind for validation from the world when I can just chase validation from Jesus? You know what I'm saying? So I think it's so important for us to not get so caught up in the world and not get so caught up in what people might want you to do, because that can cause you to act out of character. We talked about that rejection last episode, right? It's just like when you get rejected by some people, when you think you're bringing them the best that you can, and you're like, dang, now I got to start acting out of character and start being more and more of this.
Yeah.
But it's just like, nah, Jesus is just like, come as you are. Come with those insecurities that you're trying to hide with that pride, you know what I'm saying? So I think it's just important for us to understand, like, look, bro, you don't need to chase that validation from other people, bro. You need to just like understand that God loves you and he truly just wants a relationship with you.
I was over here thinking, a lot of us I think are chasing the creation instead of the creator. But it's funny how the creator came and served his creation. And so it's like, man, a whole different way. I was thinking of the lens and being a camera, right?
Yeah.
So if I'm taking a picture of you, but I've got this lens on, it's wrong, the picture's gonna be whack. But if I pause, get a bond with the creator, put on a different lens, I'm still taking a picture of you, but I'm seeing it in a whole different way because I have my lens on. And the lens is going to affect the entire picture. You can't take a good picture with a broken lens. All of the pictures are gonna be bad. But if you change the lens again and still take a picture of the same thing, I think it's gonna turn out different. But yeah, and so it's not necessarily wrong to be chasing the creation or people, but again, what's your perspective on? Why are you doing that damn thing? But even hitting back on this pride thing, I listen to like sermons on being humble all the time. Not because I'm humble, because I'm wanting to eventually get humble. I struggle deeply with that.
That's real.
So I'm only fixing half the problem, which is figuring out it's a problem. Now I actually got to have it fixed. But something that I had shared that I thought was amazing was he shared how Jesus created these people and then he went and he served them. Man, think of the humility it took. And so that's what I've been trying to do. And doing too is like me. I thought of it as me getting a business, having a huge business, and saying, you know what, I'm gonna go be the janitor. People be like, what? This is your business. Don't you own it? Don't you have a big office with some nice seats and all that?
Right.
But it's like, man, what is it being humble, and how do you get the focus off of you and on the other person?
Yeah. I think what I'm hearing you saying is really what is our pursuit? Because if we're chasing like everything, we're all chasing something, whether we want to admit it or not. Something is in our our rear windshield right now. We're heading towards that destination. But a couple of the things that I heard a few years ago about what the destination that we all should be chasing is, like that cross, right? And when you chase that cross, there's like that laser focus that you have, and everything like builds off of that. But if that destination starts to veer off into something else, and something else becomes that thing that you're chasing afterwards, well, now your life starts to cater to what you're chasing afterwards. So if we're chasing validation instead of the cross being at that north right there, north 270 away, man. Now it's like, oh, I'm chasing the acceptance from others, or now I'm chasing this relationship. Now I'm chasing this marriage, or now I'm chasing all this money. Like when we put another thing in a destination, or when we pursue another thing, it can actually be dangerous to the growth of ourselves and also those around us. Because if I'm focused on chasing money, well, then I'm going to try and get money at whatever cost, even if it's at the expense of relationships around me. If I'm chasing relationships, well, maybe I'll miss the thing that God has placed in work with me right now because I'm so focused on trying to get with this one person that I'm missing on stewarding friendships that I have right now, especially the godly ones. So I think when we talk about this pursuit, or what are we pursuing, we have to identify, what is it that I'm pursuing? Where am I going? Am I content with the destination that I'm heading in? Because a lot of us, I don't even think we know what road that we're on. I think we're just driving based off of what we see and what we hear and what we intake on the media. But
Right.
and you narrow down, really look at where your life is going, where that trajectory is going. I think there's some signs that can show you where you're headed. Because even like driving on the road, sometimes it says like wrong way, turn around. Sometimes it says no outlet. That means you can't go further. It's gonna be a dead end. If we pay attention to the signs that are in our life, I think that can reveal where we're chasing, where that's gonna lead us in the end.
Mm-hmm. That's good. I think what I was mostly getting from you is just like making sure like you're keeping your pursuit on Jesus, bro. And I think perfect scripture for that, bro. I say it every time, bro. That Hebrews 12. He said, therefore, since there is such a great cloud of witnesses, let us throw off the weight and the sin which so easily entangles us, and let us run with endurance the race that is set before us, fixing our eyes on Jesus, the author and perfecter of our faith. And so it's just like fixing our eyes on Jesus, the author and perfecter of our faith, right? Talking about running the race. And it's like, imagine you running a race, like you're on the track and you're running in the lane, right? But the moment you take your focus off of the destination, you start focusing on everybody else, you don't even know where you're running anymore. You know what I'm saying? You're focused on running their race instead of running the race that God has marked out for you. And so I think it's so important in this world is to not focus on what everybody else is doing, you know what I'm saying? Because once you look at somebody else, you're gonna be like, oh, well, I'm better than them, or well, they're better than me, you know what I'm saying? So you're constantly chasing the validation of somebody else instead of chasing that validation for God, you know what I'm saying? I think you talked about the pursuit, bro. And I think like when you're pursuing something, like, right, it causes you to do things in order to get to where you want to get to. So I think for us as Christians, if we're trying to get to the cross, we need to be able to not only like see others in the right light with the right lens, but also love them the right way. You know what I'm saying? And also love ourselves the right way too, bro.
That's my car.
But I think it's just so important, bro. Just like making sure our eyes are just fixed on Jesus, man.
Going off his point of pursuing, we are all chasing after something. So I thought the thought probably being up in a car and going different ways. It's like, if you're not pursuing something, you're definitely going the wrong way. You know what I'm saying? And I think
slow motion better than no motion, bro. For real.
You ain't got no motion. You ain't pursuing that. Well, what y'all mean by that, bro? Is that what y'all mean by that? That's what you talking about motion on the pod, bro. What y'all talking about, bro? That's the point, bro. What I go say, some people are going down dead end streets, bro. Guess where it's gonna get them? Toward the dead end. And so if you aren't pursuing the aren't chasing the things that are right, the things that are true, you're gonna end up in a different place. And again, a lot of people are going around roads that aren't gonna help them. They're gonna get them lost. They're gonna get them up in the opposite side of the street or the city or something.
And I think that's how directly pride ties back into it, because
100%.
Again, it's that control. Like, I want to be in control of where I'm going. I want to be in control of the destination that I'm going to end up in. And we see this, and even like in the subtle ways from like the beginning, as we're going through school, like the teachers or the counselors are saying like, hey, what is it that you want to be? Hey, what is it that what you want to do? And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but from a beginning, like age, we're being fed like control your destiny, control what's in front of you, control what the outcome is in the future. And I think what's hard is that pride, like, it shifts the lens from God or from what's true to ourselves and what's false. And so we look at other people, like even like people that I see on social media, like a lot of times people are like followers of trends, right? We see trends that gain attraction and people start to follow these trends, even if they have no interest. It's just because like I see X, Y, and Z with all these followers wearing this thing, I'm gonna wear it too. Or I see people going here because they posted it on their social media. Like, when we see all these trends, we make it about ourselves and trying to gain this image instead of looking at what it actually is for what it is. Like, social media is a fake place, and a lot of pride stems from that social media. And it's like, I want to get to this location where I feel validated. I want to get to this location where I feel accepted and I feel valued. But at the end of the day, go back to what my boy Jay said, man. If we actually just read the word, man, that word is just going to be the solution to all of our problems. And as cliche as that sounds, it's the truth, man. So when we talk about this pursuit and like the dead ends that could be from the destination that we're trying to pursue, let's look at, man, where are we going? And then where is Jesus going? Because if Jesus is going to chase after the lost souls, then don't you, that's what we're trying to do, man? Because at the end of the day, we talked about earlier, like chasing people. Yeah, chasing people is not a bad thing. It's just what you're trying to do with the people that you're trying to chase.
Right.
Some people are trying to chase people for some mad intentions, bro. But others are trying to chase and plant seeds and help, regain the lost souls, man. So I think when we remove the pride and we look at actually that how we're not actually driving the vehicle and the destination that we're headed, it's not on us, but it's actually God, man, that makes the drive and the journey so much better, man. So the step one of this combating pride is just taking yourself out of the steering wheel, taking yourself out of the driver's seat and allowing God to drive you to where he wants you to go. Because at the end of the day, it says many other plans of a person's heart, but it's the Lord's purpose that's going to prevail. So at the end of the day, you can have all these plans that you're going to set up. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. But if it ain't God's will, it ain't going to happen, bro.
Yeah. That's real. And I think even just like the illustration of like a taxi cab, right? As soon as you get in a taxi cab, what's the first question they ask you? Where are we going? You know what I'm saying? So I think it's important for us to ask ourselves that same question, it's like, where are we going, or what am I pursuing? And I think even on that same illustration, bro, you have to trust that taxi cab driver that he's going to get you to where he's going to get you safely. You know what I'm saying? I think the same way, that's how we need to be with God, instead of us trying to sit in the place of being the taxi cab driver. You know what I'm saying? Because he does this for a living. You know what I'm saying? And it's the same thing with God. He's been doing this for a living. He does this for the beginning of time. He did this before I was living. You know what I'm saying? So it's important for us to just trust him and allow him to truly establish our steps. You know what I'm saying? And we always hear that Proverbs 3, 5, and 6, where it says, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding, but in all your ways acknowledge him, and he will make your path straight. So I think it's important for us to actually acknowledge him in every single one of our ways. And one of the things, acknowledge him in all the things that I'm pursuing. Is this short-term goal that I'm pursuing right now, is it glorifying God? Is it put me in a space to where I'm leaning on my own understanding, leaning on my own power, or leaning on God's power, leaning on his strength? You know what I'm saying?
I think oftentimes too, people are looking for that taxi cab person for this analogy. And I think, some of that pride does is it doesn't let us ask for directions. So sometimes we're looking for that taxi cab driver, God, but we don't know where he's at or how we can find him. And we have too much pride to ask someone questions for how can I get to a taxi? You know what I'm saying? And so I think it's key, maybe if we're in a big city and we're looking for a taxi driver, man, sometimes drop your pride, ask someone how. Because then you're going to get to the taxi cab driver, and then he's going to get you to your destination.
What I love about this analogy is because, like, even with the taxi cab driver, in order for you to get in the taxi cab, you have to wave the taxi down. You have to put your hands up there. You have to ask to get inside the cab in order for you to go to the destination that you want to do. And for us, I think the first way that we can actually, or the second way that we can remove pride, is simply acknowledge that we have it and then ask God to help us remove it out of our lives, man. Because just like pride in itself is something that we can't overcome on our own strength, but we actually need God to help us remove the pride every single day from our lives, because it's not just a one-time thing like, oh, I'm giving my life to Christ, I'm free from pride.
Right.
Absolutely not. It's going to be a daily struggle, and every day we're going to have to wave God down like, hey, I need your help, man, because I'm trying to get to the destination, which is the cross, but I ain't going to get there if I'm struggling with this pride, man. So I need you to give me directions to help me dodge these obstacles in the way and dodge these potholes and get to the destination that is the cross, with your strength, man.
That's good. And I think another question we just got to ask, is pride keeping me from the destination where I'm supposed to be? You know what I'm saying? And I think it's probably so many times in my life where it was a place that I needed to be, and I let my pride get in the way of that destination, bro. You know what I'm saying? But it's important for us to make sure that we're setting that pride aside. And I think, we're supposed to come to God with a surrendered heart. You know what I'm saying? We need to come to God surrendering everything we have, surrendering every feeling, like surrendering our pride at his feet, laying at his feet. You know what I'm saying? And so I think it's also on another lens, like our struggles also keep us closer to the cross, bro. I think it's like,
Click on that. Double click.
bro. I think like what I mean by that is like some struggles that I have in my life have kept me closer to the cross, to where if I was just like didn't have them, you know what I'm saying? So if I didn't have some of these struggles that I have now, maybe I wouldn't be leaning on God as much as I think I would, you know what I'm saying? So I think it's important for us to also see it in that lens. It's just like, you know, maybe I'm struggling with this because God is trying to humble me. And when I think about that too, I think of 2 Corinthians 12, when Paul is talking, and he's like, look, God put a thorn in my flesh. I told him to take it out 3 times, but he still didn't take it away from me, so that it would keep me humble and keep me closer to the cross. You know what I'm saying? And so it's like the same way. God may be having a struggle in your life. He may be keeping it there, you know, just so it can keep you dependent on him, bro.
I was gonna say, what is it? I think I heard this from someone who said, humility gets you places that pride can't. That's all I got.
That boy is dropping one-line bars.
That's all I got. It's from someone else too. I make it up.
Just dropping one-line bars, man. But if I'm understanding you correctly, like, we are dependent human beings. We depend on God for everything, and it's hard because there are a lot of dependent human beings who don't depend on God, and they can't get to where they want to be actually, because they're relying on their own strength, their own wisdom, their own knowledge. But man, we said this in the last episode, our wisdom is foolishness to God. Right. So if we're not depending on God for everything in our lives, man, that destination is going to be no outlet. We're going to be going nowhere, man. So being dependent and humbling yourself to acknowledge, hey, man, I do have struggles, and man, this is the thing that's actually going to keep me close. Because to your point, man, if we aren't dependent, well, then we think that we're God. We think that we're our own lords, and we think that we're in control of everything. But it's when you are in those valleys, it's when you are in those struggles, those pits where you have to call upon God, because you can't get out and pit by yourself, that God reveals his truth, his glory in most of those situations, man. I think, like, when we're highlighting in our struggles, when we're drowning in the midst of the uncertainty, insecurities, we realize who God is in those valleys, man. So being able to look at the light, humble yourself, and ask God, hey, man, I'm struggling, man, but I know that when I'm weak, your power is made perfect. Like, your strength is evident in my weakness. So like, I think that's just a comforting thing to just remember, like, remind ourselves that, yeah, we have struggles, but that's a good thing, because that just means that God, his power, is going to show up in our struggles and help us get and overcome through those things, man.
And I think even like the evidence that you acknowledge your struggles and that you know that you're struggling is evidence of the Holy Spirit, bro. I think that's to tell you, like, hey, man, like, I'm doing wrong. Because where I think in my past life, bro, it's like when I was doing wrong, it would just be like, it was like second nature to me. To where now, if I was to do those things today with the Holy Spirit's convictions now, it would feel so weird. It would feel so out of place. So I think not only having those struggles, but acknowledging your struggles and that you struggle and that the things that you struggle with are wrong is a good thing, and it's evidence of the Holy Spirit as well.
Yeah, it's perfect, man. Half the battle is knowing that you're in a battle. The second half is trying to win that battle, you know?
Bro. Facts.
Man, let them cook, man.
For real.
Hope this episode blessed you guys, bruh. Like, comment, share this conversation. We appreciate you guys. We out here.
Peace.
Peace.